Hello everyone, and welcome. Today we'll be doing an Icey playthrough so I can explain how I play her and what potentials I look for, that type of thing. But before we get into that, there's a couple things in Mine Crystals that I noticed they changed the values for, and I don't know when they changed them, because I don't remember seeing it in any patch notes. I either just miss the patch notes, or they changed something without telling us, which it would not be the first time that there were changes that weren't in patch notes. But anyways, defensive combo got buffed from 50% to 70%. I think this one will still be very situational. A big issue I had running this in fights like Susano and Reki is that they have really heavy single damage hits, and then they don't really follow it up with much after that. So I would get hit and still take all the damage just because he's hitting me for like a single hit of 1,000 damage, instead of really being able to reduce much out of it. There might be cases where it's useful though, maybe for something like Arakune, if you're getting hit by a bunch of the projectiles at once. One thing I need to try and check based on the footage of this video is whether it only blocks a single hit, or if you have the damage reduction between for the entire 2-second duration, because that's a huge difference based on which one it is. So this one is something that's like in a testing phase. I can't really say for now if it's worth it or not. But the other one that they changed, on the other hand, Vengeful Wrath, went from 5 seconds of invincibility to 10 seconds. Which 10 seconds of invincibility is completely ridiculous, especially due to the fact that you have 200% damage that entire time. So of course if you're running this, you pretty much have to run Not Dead Yet, because otherwise you won't have an escape death. If you're playing on the advanced difficulty settings, you can buy them from shops and get them from like Sortitions and some other events and stuff, but if you're playing on really high settings like I'll be doing today, then those aren't something you can really guarantee. And then the rest of the stuff is stuff I was running before, like Discount, Potential Discovery, and Expanded Foundation. Potential Discovery did get buffed, and this is one that actually was in the patch notes. It allows you to refresh tactics now, so it just made a good Mine Crystal even better. That's not the screen I need to be on. Also, gotta water a plant. Can't let that thing die. I don't believe that the plant actually does anything, but I water it anyways. Today we're going to be doing 94 Entropy on Transcendence to kind of show off how good some of the new defensive stuff I found is. So you might have noticed that I'm not running Mixture Enhancement and Mixture Replenishment like I always used to. And a big reason for that is that this high entropy really cuts your healing effects from rest areas and bosses. But I'm running Hazama's aura, which drains HP and MP, and then on top of that I'm running Ragna's healing as well. Ragna's healing seems to be better or worse depending on the character. Some characters that I did really well with were Icey and Rachel, that can do a lot of multi-hits quickly. But then a character like Jin, where I was doing a whole lot of sheathed stuff all the time, I felt like I wasn't really getting the same amount of healing out of Ragna's Second Legacy. So that's also something that I think is strong, but there will be situations where it's better or worse depending on like what type of character you're playing and what type of build you're doing. Also, another thing about Ragna's Second Legacy is that I'll get back to that. So a couple of things I'm looking for potentials are this one, always get it immediately if you see it. Electron Flow also gives you a lot of moves in one potential, so you don't get stuck on the thing that like a lot of characters run into in this game, where you just don't feel like you have much of a moveset outside of your basic combos. So this just gives her a ton of moves to work with immediately. but increased MP efficiency is more important than that one. But anyways, back to Ragna's second legacy skill. Another thing is that when you take Ragna as a legacy character, you get a buff whenever you take damage that increases your skill damage. So having that second legacy will not only give you a damage buff from the legacy itself, but you'll also be getting a skill damage buff from his passive simultaneously. So it's for characters that are doing primary skill damage, you're double dipping in a damage boost. It's very powerful, along with having the healing effect on top of it. One last thing, too, about that is that when you're using it, if you use it at full HP, you will drain a lot more health than you will if you use it at low HP. The drain scales off your current HP. I don't know exactly what the healing is scaling off of, but if it works the same way as Ragna's actual passive, the healing gets better the more max HP you have. But that is not something that I have tested out. So another thing that we're looking for with potentials is all of the Lysis stuff. As far as what I could tell, you can't get the MP recovery on here until you've gotten the first one, and the first one might even lock you out from the second and third. But anyways, so I just take it right away. I've tried like spamming rerolls, and I've not gotten the MP recovery without having the HP one. So I'm not sure if it locks you out of the third, but it seems to lock you out of the second at the very least. But anyways, there's a lot of hidden effects here that are very good, like rapidly attacking increases damage dealt, deal additional damage equal to a percentage of the target's HP when you use regeneration, and making them more likely to enter armor broken. And then there's another hidden effect with her universal that maximizes out your MP gains, and that's going to be something that's very important to have on her. Icey doesn't feel nearly as bad as other characters when it comes to... There's some characters where if you just don't get the right potentials on high entropy, they just don't feel good to play, in my opinion. I don't know how that's happening, by the way. There seems to be some kind of issue with my controller or input settings. Like, I did not hit my legacy button there at all. My hand's not even on. My legacy button's on right trigger, and my hand's not even on the trigger at all, so I don't know how that got activated. But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, when it comes to Icey potentials, if you can get into her MP setup, it's very powerful, but it's not something that's, it's not something that if you don't get into it immediately, then she just feels horrible to play, like some other characters do. So another thing you're going to want to look out for is this upgrade for Pummel. Pummel is your basic skill. It will make it cost MP, but it also gives you invulnerable during that time. It's a good safety tool. It's something that I always forget to use as a safety tool, but it is something that's very good. It also has... that's also required for a hidden effect with Electron Flow, and it will make those moves come out much quicker than they would normally. And also, it'll allow them to be charged to deal more range and damage. Okay, so to go back to the basics of Icey, Icey plays a lot differently than other characters. She doesn't regenerate MP like characters normally would. Instead, she gets her MP from landing attacks. So if you see here, as soon as I start comboing the enemy, I get MP back. Also, once you've gotten the upgrade for it, you also get some MP back from triggering your marks, which they're called regeneration. So anytime you see the triangle thing show up on the enemy, you press the action button and you can teleport to them. It'll deal some damage and give you HP and MP as well, once you get the upgrades for it. One important thing about this is make sure you tap the action button as briefly as possible, because it's very finicky about if you ever hold it for even slightly too long, you won't get the teleport to come out, which can be a really bad thing if you're trying to use the teleport for invincibility. It does also give you invincibility as you're doing it. The invincibility frames feel a little finicky sometimes. There's sometimes where I feel like I should get the invincibility, but don't. But overall, it does work as like an emergency escape tool or invincibility tool. It's just not one of the better ones. You can always just press skill, or she'll have some other stuff too as we unlock more potentials. Alright, so you could kind of already see some of the draining effects that I talked about. Both of the legacy effects I have give me HP, regeneration or life stealing, whatever you want to call it. Even though I wasn't playing the fight very well and taking a lot of damage, I still wasn't ever really in danger of dying because of that healing effects. Also, of course, if you ever see her dash upgrades, you can pick up those anytime as well. I won't be taking the Covenant during this run. It's one thing I like to not do when I play... when I show off characters for the first time. I don't like taking things like Covenant and Black Market, because if they give a very powerful effect, then they end up making the character look a lot stronger than it would be in like an average run, and I want to show off the character in more of an average run. So for tactics, I took Attack Rend with Rending Impact, along with Frost on skills, and then Frost Burst. I think these are probably going to be one of her better options. You could run stuff like... you could maybe run the Thunder and Lightning build. This is what I was talking about earlier, by the way. You want to look for all the Lysis upgrades, and then the Universal upgrade that gives MP, or that increases MP efficiency, whatever it says. You'll get the hidden effect where you increase your MP recovery to the max, and that's going to be very important for getting a lot of DPS out. And then the other hidden effects you get from here are nice as well. But anyways, I think this is going to be... Attack Rend with Rending Impact and Frost with Frost Burst is going to be probably one of her best builds. You can always run stuff like the Chain Reaction build. That's just good on any character. And then Thunder and Lightning might be okay on her, but I think this is better. if you don't know what any of those builds means, I have a link to guides and stuff in all of my descriptions. You can go there, and there's a Google Doc that has builds on it, so you can check those out. But anyways, the reason why I feel like she's mostly skill damage based is because of her hold attacks. Some of her moves are quite strange in that, so like her hold attack, for example, it is an MP cost move, so it ends up counting off of skill damage and skill tactics instead. And that's why we're taking Frost on skills and not attacks, even though it's a hold attack. Her base skill button, which is Pummel, it also does some really weird things when it comes to what it's scaling off of. If you don't have the upgrade to give them an MP cost, they count as attacks and proc some of the attack tactics, but at the same time, they can also proc some skill tactics, but not others, strangely enough. So things like light spears, I've heard that they activate. I need to check something. We also want to look for the hidden effect for Overload to make it invincible, and I don't remember what that is off the top of my head. Okay, so it looks like I need to unlock the stance stuff for that, and this upgrade. So we'll go ahead and take that. But yeah, the way that it works is her basic skills are counted as attacks until you get the upgrade that gives them an MP cost, and then after that they're counted as skills. But even before that upgrade, there are certain skill tactics that they seem to activate anyways, like light spears. And I'm guessing it just has to do with the way light spears are programmed. Because light spears are activated the minute you hit the skill button, or anything that's counted as a skill. So maybe they just messed up something there. And then something like Frost or Chain Lightning is what I would consider an on-hit effect, where the effect is applied as soon as the attack lands. So that might have something to do with it. I don't really know. And then I think there's a similar thing for Electron Flow's attacks, where they do use the skill button, but unless you upgrade them, they're considered as attacks. And then if you're doing the upgraded version, the skill cost, it counts as a skill. That's kind of how it works for Jin as well, where if you're using enhanced versions of his attacks with the MP cost upgrade, then they become skills. Otherwise, they're attacks. So I guess it's mostly in line with how it would work. It's just not a mechanic that really comes up too often in this game. Having something that's like on the attack button but has a skill cost, and having something that's on the skill button but doesn't have a skill, or MP cost. Either way, that's a very long-winded explanation just to say that Frost Burst is what we're running on her, because her aerial hold attack is her best source of DPS, from what I've seen so far. People say that she's a very low DPS character, and I don't know how much of that is just due to not focusing enough on the aerial hold attacks and maybe like Frost skills. It's a little bit hard for me to say what people could be doing better on her, because I I never had any issues at all with her damage from the first time I picked her up. So it's not something where, like, I was playing another character and I was having a hard time with them until I found a specific potential build or something, and then I kind of know, like, what the problem was and what I needed to fix for that character. But with Icey, I've never had problems from the start, so I don't know what the problem is. I think one of the big things about Icey is that a lot of her DPS can be tied into her or her skill cap of how well you can play her. Also, another thing to look out for is Uppercut, because it gives your down attack the ability to hit multiple times. Her down attacks are very, very useful in general, especially once they get more hits on them, and they'll be upgraded to invincibility as well. And then along with that, it's a very quick move to come out, so you can weave them into combos really easily and often. And then the multi-hit of it will also make it apply Rend very quickly. Oh, something else I should mention when it comes to Rend is that if you look at just the percentage numbers for things like Rending Impact, Frost Burst, and Summon Radiance, here I'll show it off even. But anyways, if you just look at the damage numbers, it looks like Rending Impact is... so this says they lose their super armor and take an additional 16% damage, and this says skills deal 40% more damage. The way that this 40% damage is being calculated is entirely different from this one, so even though it looks like a much lower damage number, it's a lot better than it sounds. And it's the same thing with Ragna's Blood Cane. The way it's being calculated is different than Frost and Radiance. It's weird. I don't know why they've made things so inconsistent in this game. Also, when it comes to Rending Impact and Ragna's second legacy skill, those are also increasing tactic damage, which most damage increases in the game don't ever affect tactics. Like there's a 20% damage boost that you get for each potential that you have, which is just something that scales over time. That's one example of things that don't scale towards tactics. So having Rending Impact and Ragna's Legacy to buff certain tactic builds is also something that's very useful to keep in mind. It makes them more unique compared to like Frost and Radiance, and it also gives them a lot more value than we previously thought they had. Well, when it comes to Rending Impact, at least. Like, we always knew Rending Impact was good, but we didn't know the extent of how good it was, basically. If you want a bit of an extra explanation about what's going on there, is that from what I can tell, the way it's working is Rending Impact is actually just a flat damage increase. Like, you would expect it to be when it says something increases your damage by an amount. What Frost and Radiance are doing instead is something pretty strange. It's taking what it seems like the base damage of your attack, and then it's adding on an additional hit of damage to that. So it's It's something that is not scaling up over time. Even if you're increasing your damage through potentials or through other buffs, it's not taking the final damage that your attack is dealing. It's just taking some base value. I tested this out by having a character with no potentials on, and then having a character with a lot of potentials on. And I used the same move both times, even though one of them was hitting for like 1,000 damage more, the frost damage stayed exactly the same. I don't know if stuff like Rending Impact and Ragna's Second Legacy increases that frost damage itself. That is one thing I didn't test, so I don't know if it's possible to boost that. I don't think it's possible to boost it in a way like where your Radiance would also deal an extra hit based on that extra frost hit. I think they both just deal their own single hit, even if you have both of them. So like if you have both of them, you would get 2 additional hits, but you wouldn't get like... Radiance wouldn't also deal damage based on Frost's hit, I think. It's weird. Testing stuff in this game is also always a pain in the butt, because there's no easy way to be like, I need to test a character with 1 potential compared to a character with like 10 potentials to see if damage scaling affects anything that way, and there's no easy way to test like a bunch of specific potential interactions, because that requires going and setting up an entire Evo type just to do like a 10-second test. I hope they'll improve the training mode at some point to where you can just enable or disable tactics, maybe even a couple things like make the room bigger, so if you're trying to do... Like, the ceiling is really small in the... The ceiling is very small in the training room, so sometimes if you're trying to, like, mess around with combos, it gets in the way of that. That's mostly a thing, like, for combo videos. It's not something for general practice, though. So we picked up a Legacy Impulse along the way, just so we could get the Frost Burst here. I can't actually use Legacy Impulse with my setup right now, because neither of the Legacy tactics, or the Legacy skills I have, count as, like, hitting the enemy to apply it. But I just take it because that red effect is strong. Okay, I'm gonna reroll to the point of where we finally get, actually, I don't really want to pass up on this invincibility either. This is the upgrade that allows you to get, vertical cut is your down air, and that's, gives you, having invincibility during that is very useful, because like I said, it's, very easy to weave into your combos. This is also a good tool, having invincible state during uppercut, but I wanna look for electron flow because there's something I need to explain. Okay, I mentioned before that I feel like Icey has a really high skill cap when it comes to her DPS, and this is something I haven't talked about for quite a while, but this game kinda has a system of where you can jump and dodge cancel most of your attacks. So if you see here, I can interrupt my attack with a jump immediately, and the damage will still come out. It does the same thing if I do a dodge. So this becomes very important for certain characters more so than others, but it's something that is very, very useful as just a general mechanic of this game. So, as another example, if I do something like attack into skill, which is a new electron flow thing that I picked up, and then I try to go into my attack chain afterwards, you can see there's a... It's not that bad of a delay, but there is a delay. Now, if I do that into a jump, into an immediate down air, I can combo out of this immediately, while also going into other moves. So, it's something that's hard to explain as a concept, but jump canceling and dash canceling are something that are very, very powerful in this game. Like I said, for some characters more so than others, but Icey, I think, is the character that can use it the best, because her attack the damage that her attacks deals comes out very, very quickly. You can see how fast I'm able to chain my moves together here. And this is important for Icey because she actually needs to attack in order to regain her MP, unlike other characters. So the faster you're able to execute attack strings with her, the more damage you're going to do, by virtue of having more MP. And then this is also where her aerial version of hold attack becomes important, because it's a very high damage move in itself, and it also has basically no frames of like where you're locked out in animation. It just deals the damage immediately, and you can get back to chaining your attacks together in order to get MP, and you want to form this kind of cycle where you're weaving both things together. Once you get good at weaving this stuff together, you'll start to notice her DPS going up a lot. I still wouldn't say she's high DPS as some of the characters like Kokonoe, Lambda, Rachel, Hakumen, but those are all characters that are very, very high DPS characters. They're kind of like in a tier of their own, if I were to make a tier list. I personally don't like tier lists overall, though, so that's not something I'll be doing. So another thing we can look to go into is resonance. I wouldn't pick it up early, but if you want to pick it up later, it's an option. I think it's okay, but I have some issues with it. The main issue is that when you do up action and then you do an attack input, if you don't jump or dash cancel out of this, you get stuck in the animation. And sometimes if you're like trying to execute too fast or something, you won't get the cancel out, or you'll miss the input or something, and you'll end up getting stuck in there when you're trying to like avoid attacks or something. It's hard to explain without a visual to go along with it. So let's go ahead and pick up the invincible state during uppercut. Also, this is a system that is exclusive to playing on the Ascension difficulty. It allows you to upgrade your legacy skills that you brought in. I'm upgrading the Hazama one this run, because upgrading the Hazama run increases the amount of healing that it gives me, along with the duration. The Jin one would give me more of a damage buff, but it wouldn't increase the healing. Though I don't know if the healing is based on the actual damage you deal, or if it's just based on like a flat amount of the attack. Ragna's healing itself isn't based on damage dealt, it's based on the individual attack and the amount of max HP you have. But I haven't taken the time to look at how the healing and stuff scales off of Ragna's. I guess that's a good segue into something I wanted to talk about. And this will be something I probably talk about a bit more on like an announcement video when I get things figured out, but I might as well talk about them here while I have some time. I've been getting a little, I'm losing the word for it right now. I've been getting a little burnt out when it comes to, like, guides and that type of content for this game. I put out a ridiculous amount of information about this game over the time that I've been playing it. So I'm getting to a point of where, like, I just want to take some time and enjoy the game itself. Pretty much the entire time I've been playing the game and making content for it, anytime I'm playing the game, it's for, like, a specific goal of, well, I need to set up this character for the mind challenges to show them off and talk about how to play them a little bit, maybe. Or, like, I'm learning this character and practicing this character so I can explain how to play it in a video, maybe make, like, a little written guide for it. So it's gotten to the point of where I still enjoy playing the game, even if I'm playing it for, like, an objective like that, but I want to be able to just sit down and play the game without having to think about all the added stuff on top of that, like as I'm playing the game, I also have to be thinking about, like, how do I turn the information I'm learning into a guide, that type of thing. It's always something that's kind of, like, passively there, even when I do try and play the game just casually. So I just want to take a step back for a little bit and just play the game for fun for a while. So I will be finishing the new profile series. There's a couple more episodes I want to do for that, explaining some high entropy runs and how to set up for those. And then I also want to probably do, like, how to create strong characters, because that's something I have the written guide for, but I don't remember. I think even if, like, I may have did a video of it on the past, but even if I did, it would be dated by now. So I could probably, I don't know, I'll have to see. I might cover those in the same video, or I might do two separate ones. If it feels like I'm trying to put too much into one video, which I think, now that I think about it, that's probably going to be the case. I think that would be too much for one video. So there will still be a couple more informative videos out, and even when I'm doing what I would call more like casual content, I'll still be explaining things as I go. I'm not going to hit the point of where I just do the run and I don't explain anything about the character or the stuff that I'm picking up, but there will be a lot less in terms of stuff like the written guides that go with everything, and it'll just be more of what I feel like playing at the time. On that vein, one of the things I really want to do is stream more often. Streaming something fun that I can do just while I'm enjoying the game, and I'll have the added benefit of interacting with people in real time. I've always had a good time doing that when it comes to I've never streamed too much in the past, but every time I have, it's been a good experience. So that's another thing where when I've been so into like putting out information for the game, it's always been like, well, I can do a stream, and I almost feel like I'm wasting time if I'm doing that, compared to taking notes and testing things. So that's another thing that kind of taking a step back from doing a bunch of guides and everything will help out with as well. I'll be able to stream and enjoy playing and chatting with people. Another thing you can look for later on, as you've gotten some of your other main potentials, is you have to unlock the triple jump first, and then you can unlock this one, where interrupting other actions with a jump recovers a certain amount of MP, and it resets the airborne attack limit. It's useful to have for the extra MP recovery. It's not something that's like going to make a huge difference, but if you remember what I talked about in the past of where I'm constantly jump and dash canceling things anyways to get more DPS out of her. By the way, I should not have taken this exchange space. That was a mistake. But yeah, it's something that it helps, but it's not anything that's necessary. Oh boy, here's this'll be a good test of things for my like defensive setup and everything. Orita can be a quite difficult boss on Ascended mode. I mean, even on regular difficulty, she's difficult. But in Ascended mode, she gets a lot. Oh, I don't... Okay. I also don't have a certain thing that I want for this fight. So that's gonna make it a little more difficult. Okay, let's just go ahead and use a mixture or two while I have a second. Man, those mixtures really do not heal much without the boost to them. Okay, well, I guess our invincibility is coming into play here. So I'm just gonna do this. Dump all my MP while I'm invincible. I really should have used Ragna's skill before I did that. I'm still getting used to actually having some of the legacy moves be a lot more useful now. Because before I always just ignored them, they weren't worth the time of pressing. But with these ones, they're very much worth it. Okay, so yeah, there, at least you can see an example of how ridiculous having 10 seconds of invincibility was. It just entirely turned that fight around. There's something I want... Where is it? Oh, it's because I never picked this up. What really threw me off in that fight there is that, I don't have the effect here where integration and resonance can be used in the air, which is one of the safety tools I like having, especially for this fight. So I didn't talk about her stances much, because I don't think they're really that useful overall. If you do up plus action, you do those moves. If you do up plus action and then skill, you'll use all your MP. I don't think it's really worth it. The damage that you get for the MP drain, I don't think it's too good. We'll show it off here. Yeah, it didn't even kill a single enemy. What the heck? I think that, yeah, they need to buff the stances in general, because they don't deal enough damage for what they do, or for, like, the extra effort of going into the stance stuff. The only one I do like using is, the down plus action into skill, because you get invulnerability frames during it. Also, one thing I haven't talked about is that Icey's dashes actually have invulnerability frames on them instead of dodge frames. Now, you might be wondering what the difference is, and the game never explains pretty much any of that to you, so I wouldn't blame you for not knowing. But anyways, certain boss attacks will have purple exclamation marks on them when they attack. For those moves, dodge frames will not avoid taking damage. You'll still take damage from them. And that's where invincibility frames come into play. Invincibility frames will dodge those moves. So one example is from that Oreed fight there. When she summons the butterflies that fly across the screen in different patterns, I would be able to avoid those just by dashing. Which is what I should have done, but I panicked as soon as I realized I didn't have the aerial version of that move, which is what I normally use for dodging. And a lot of that reason is just because Icey is the only character that has, well, Icey and Hazama, or not Hazama, Icey and Hakumen are the only characters that have invincibility frames on their dashes. But Hakumens are always so... It feels like they don't last very long, so I never use them for that reason. But yeah, it's a very, very good tool, knowing that you have invincibility on your dashes, if it's something that you can get used to. I just don't have the muscle memory for it, and I feel like if I do get the muscle memory for it, then it's gonna screw me over when I play other characters. And it's been forever since I've seen this boss actually last more than a second. It's kind of nice to have it actually be a real boss fight. I also don't know if I've ever done... I don't think I ever done these Ascended mode attack patterns either. So I have no idea what's going on right now. It feels like she is, she has really good coverage. It's really hard to attack her, because the projectiles are, like, always covering her, it feels like. I can't really get in as a melee character. That almost ended the run, but if the run ends at this point, I don't really care. I've made it far enough into the run and explained everything I needed to. Okay, so this is another thing. I guess you do actually need to go into integration, because it gives Overload invincibility, which is her hold attack that you'll be spamming a lot on her. I'd really like to get one more potential. There we go. Now I can have my aerial version that I like using. Oh, that's definitely not what I wanted to be spending my money on. At least I can sell it back. I'm gonna roll here, just, yep, in hopes of getting a discount on something. And then... let me think about it. I think I can get enough healing out of a normal space, as long as I don't just die immediately. To use this as, like, an HP refill room. Oh, right, I should explain one other thing. I'll have to go into the potential menu after I finish this. That was bad timing. Okay, yeah, that room served as a pretty good healing room. These legacy skins are so good for healing. It's crazy. Like I said, your results with them might vary depending on which character you're playing. Like Hazama's will also be a lot worse on ranged characters, just because you'll have to walk into melee range to actually use it. Okay, so one thing I didn't talk about is Overload, the SP version. You will only use the SP cost when you're on the ground. Also, they really need to buff. They need to buff it. It's not a very good damage boost, especially considering that the animation is a lot worse on the ground than in the air. And even when you're spending all 100 SP, it doesn't feel like a really significant enough increase. Like, I could get way more DPS out of just doing the aerial version, comboing into the grounded version, and getting the MP back that I need for the aerial version. You can see here with, when I have all of the MP increase effects, I can spam the air attack very often if I'm playing correctly. Ah. That move always catches me off guard. It's something I think he only gets it in Ascended mode. It comes out very quickly, and you're not expecting it, because he either gained it in a patch, or he gained it from Ascended mode. I'm assuming it's from Ascended mode. But yeah, it's something I'm never ready for. Because despite a lot of his moves have like a wind-up on it, meanwhile that one just comes out pretty quickly. Huh, I'm surprised I wasn't in invincibility there from Overload. That move is another really quick one from Kuzano. That I think it's a new one. Oh, the other thing about Hazama's legacy skill is that it also gives you MP regen, which is something that Icey wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Well, it's not MP regen, technically. You do have to be in range of enemies. But if you're on a melee character already, then it's a pretty decent source of getting MP back. Okay, there we go. So you can definitely tell during that Susano fight how crazy the healing is on these two legacy skills. I was playing extremely aggressively there, to the point of where I was just taking damage constantly. I wasn't really trying to avoid taking damage, I was just going in. And I was able to out-heal all of it. The only time I couldn't out-heal was when I just took a lot of damage without being able to attack in the Oread fight. And that Oread fight was 100% my fault. I could have played that fight way better by just taking advantage of the invincibility on my dodges. Anyway, I hope that gives you guys an idea of how to play Icey. I think the big things with her are taking Frost on your skill slot in order to buff her aerial hold attack, getting all of the things that allow you to regain MP faster, and then just learning how to weave between doing her attack moves and her or her aerial hold attacks as often as possible. You can definitely get to the point of where, as long as you're like managing things properly, you don't really ever run out of MP. You can always kind of, like I said, weave back and forth between doing your attacks and your aerial hold attack. Try not to use the grounded version of hold attack as often, because you can see it has the extra animation that slows it down. You can do it occasionally to spend your SP, but otherwise stick with the air version more so than the grounded version. I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh! To get Icey's skins, one of them you get from when you fight Watcher and Sweeper. You need to go back up to the top left of the stage to get the Noelle one for Icey. To get the Noelle one where she looks like Icey, you go to, in the first area that you start out in, you go to the top left. I think you have to do, like, triple dash into, like, an attack or two, and you'll get enough height. There's a secret platform that you can see, but it's hard to reach. That will get the Noelle skin, and then to get the other skin for Icey, you need to find all of her potentials in her levels. A lot of them are hidden behind secrets. You don't have to get them all in the same run, you just have to find them all. If you join the official Discord, you should be able to find that easily enough by searching for it on Google, or I'll link it if I remember. If you go to the general chat of the official Discord, and you click on threads, there's a thread open that has where all the secrets are, so you can find them that way. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.